Good morning, everybody. It is now 10:15. We're just going to give it about another minute or so just to allow some more people to come into the room before we get started.
You can go ahead, Andrew. I think I let everyone in.
All right. All right. So in the interest of time, we're just going to get started. Hello, I'm Andrew Stewart, and my two co-hosts are Ray and Stephen McMillan. And today on the Morning Money Conversations, we are so proud to shine a spotlight on men's health and prostate cancer awareness with a conversation that's going to be personal, powerful, and urgently important. Today, we're honored to welcome Anthony Henry, president of the Walnut Foundation, a respected support and self-help group dedicated to improving the health and well-being of Black men affected by prostate cancer. And Anthony is not only a community leader, but also a prostate cancer survivor whose story is filled with strength, insight, and hope. Today's episode, Anthony is going to share his personal journey from diagnosis to recovery and offer practical advice for men navigating prostate cancer or simply looking to take better care of their health. We're going to dive into why regular screenings are critical, the unique health challenges faced by Black men, and how to take proactive steps in protecting your well-being. And importantly, how community support can change lives. So, whether you've been directly affected by prostate cancer or supporting a loved one or just want to be informed, this is a conversation that can truly make a difference. So we're happy you joined us today to raise awareness, break the silence, and empower our community to take charge of their health. I'm going to turn it over to Anthony now to say a quick hello and really start getting into his journey and sharing his insights. Go ahead, Anthony.
Good morning, Andrew. Thank you for that introduction. Thank you, Ray, Steph, and everyone affiliated with the Macmillan Group. I'm happy to be here today to share my story with respect to prostate cancer. I am one of 4 family members impacted by prostate cancer. And so I think I have a unique perspective from which to share what I have to say today. As I said, I'm one of 4 family members. So dad was diagnosed with prostate cancer at age 64. He died at 68. That spurred my brother and myself to start screening early.
Have a $0 monthly plan premium.
In addition, my uncle, that's my dad's younger brother, also was impacted by prostate cancer. So even more reason to be vigilant about this thing. The common theme and the common thread you're going to find from my talk is men who screen or who are lucky enough to catch their prostate cancer early enough in the game are still with us today. The ones who are not screening are the ones who are likely to have an early demise. Before I get in any further, I just want to share my screen, so I'll do that now. So it's asking me allow multiple presenters to share or replace current share. I'm not sure how to do that.
That'll stop sharing mine, so it should kick in now. Try it again.
Okay.
Or just replace the current share. That's the other option.
Replace current share. Okay, so let's say and okay. Can you see my screen now?
Not as yet.
Not as yet. Okay, let me back out. And let's not sure. Let's
Is it allowing you to share?
it's not. Okay, let's try again. And share. No. Not sure what.
Are you using a double monitor or just a monitor?
It's the same monitor.
Same monitor.
Let's see. Okay, 1 second. One second. Okay. Let's minimize it. This.
On the joys of technology, folks. I mean, sometimes it works well, sometimes it doesn't. So
Let's click here.
I'm sure we get it works. In the meanwhile, this is going to be a very insightful conversation. So we want the questions from you. As you heard Anthony's introduction, he is one of 4 members of his family who have been diagnosed with prostate cancer. So, I mean, who better to tell this story and share this journey than somebody who has seen it from, not only himself as a cancer survivor, prostate cancer survivor, but also, watching his father pass away as a result of prostate cancer. So I think it's important for us as men, Black men, along with their spouses and wives, ensure that we.
I'm not sure why it's doing this.
Anthony, are you able to move forward with the presentation without your deck?
Yeah, I can do that.
Okay. Yeah, just
Yeah.
for the press.
Yeah. Anyways, I'll do that. So basically, for Black men, the issue for us is that we are 76% more likely to be diagnosed with prostate cancer. We are also twice as likely to die from prostate cancer. All right. So because of this, we've set up a nonprofit. It's called the Walnut Foundation. Why walnut? Well, in young men, when you're in your 20s, your prostate is about the size of a walnut. As you get older, this prostate gland grows and it creates problems for us. So one problem is an enlarged prostate or BPH, as they call it. So you have problems peeing. Imagine, right, your prostate gland is right below the bladder. And the urethra comes right through the middle from the bladder, right through the middle of the prostate, that walnut-shaped organ. You pee through that. If that prostate gland is getting enlarged, it squeezes the tube, the urethra. So this is why older men have problems peeing, voiding, or not emptying properly. So that's one problem. So us as men, we have to be aware of that and seek the necessary help, medical help for that. The other problem for us, unfortunately, is prostate cancer, right? So prostate cancer is basically abnormal cells growing inside of the prostate. And the problem for us very often is that the symptoms, if we're waiting for symptoms like frequent urination or back pain, blood in the urine, blood in the semen, those kinds of symptoms, if you wait until those symptoms fully present themselves, right, or fully mature, so to speak, it could be too late, right? Your problem might just be an enlarged prostate, but it could also be prostate cancer. And so hence the name, the Walnut Foundation, the organization I belong to. So two gentlemen, Dr. Winston Isaac, who is a professor at TMU, and Simon Simel, they decided back in 2007 to start this group. Today, the Walnut Foundation is a registered nonprofit with a volunteer board and one full-time staff with a supporting cast from time to time, depending on available funding. So that's basically the Walnut Foundation. And what we do basically is to highlight some of these issues that I've been talking about, bring awareness to the community about prostate cancer, provide a safe space for men to engage, dialogue, much like we're doing here today. And we also provide prostate cancer screening in Black communities. Again, the issue for us is that in Ontario, where we're located, the PSA test, the cheapest, readily available test, our marker to indicate if there's a problem with your prostate, that PSA blood test is not covered by OHIP. We're lobbying the government to get them to change the whole OHIP rules around that and to make it more widely available. And we are also recommending that for our community, because of our higher incidence of prostate cancer, that we start screening earlier, much like I did, all right? Until such time, though, as the government decides to do, we have to take matters into our own hands, and hence the reason why we're doing the PSA screening. The screening we're doing is in conjunction with Princess Margaret Cancer Center. And it's tied to a research study that we're doing also. It's looking at genetics. We think genetics plays a major role in this. It's not the only factor, but that's a part of it. A part of it is we're not screening early enough. And also our medical system is not attuned to, the statistics. At least if they are, they're not acting like it, all right? We think it's not good enough for the system to tell you, oh, you guys have a high incidence and you're twice as likely to die from prostate cancer. But, oh, by the way, go sit over there, right? Where's the research? Where's the education, right? Where's the earlier screening? And so we're pushing and promoting some of these kind of things. A part of the issue for us too is that we are underrepresented in the research and specialty segment. So when you engage with the system, you don't see researchers that look like us in there. Or antidote for that is to look at endowments. So we've set up an endowment at TMU Medical School in Toronto. And also we're setting one up at the TMU Medical School in Brampton. It's coming up to Brampton. So Temerity Faculty of Medicine at U of T and TMU up here in Brampton. The TMU, the U of T endowment, we've funded that with $46,000. For the TMU scholarship, that needs an endowment starting at $150,000. We don't have those funds available. So I've personally made a down payment myself of $10,000 on that $150,000. And we're hoping that by engaging folks like yourselves, that you'll see fit to add to that pool of funds. In the interim, though, for TMU, we're committed to doing some bursaries, 5,000 per year for the next 4 years. So we're committed for 20,000 so far with that one. And this is a process. It's going to take many years to get our numbers up in the Greater Toronto area. For example, there's only one Black urologist. That's not good enough. All right, and these kind of things don't change unless we change them. Now, if you look at some of the statistics, expound on that a little bit more. When you look at the statistics, so the death rate per 100,000 in globally, it's about 7.7 per 100,000. But when you look at places like Zimbabwe, it's 41.7 per 100,000. Barbados, 40.3 per 100,000. Haiti, 40.2 per 100,000. Again, as compared to 7.7 per 100,000. I see Jamaica there, 39.4 per 100,000. Trinidad and Tobago, 38.9% per 100,000. Right? So significantly higher death rates from these predominantly Black countries. Some people might say, well, that's over there. The medical system is not quite up to first world standards. But we've done some research looking at immigrant men in Ontario. And we see the same kind of patterns. Much higher incidences from West African men, followed closely by Caribbean men, right? And then all the other immigrant groups lumped at the bottom. So, the stats is there to show what we're talking about. So that's our research study. In Canada, 1 in 8 will die from prostate cancer. All right. In Black men, we know it's 1 in 6. And as I mentioned earlier, they're 2.2 times more likely to be diagnosed. So that's the crux of our issue. Turning back to myself a little bit. So I was diagnosed at age 53. Because I was screening, my cancer was caught really early. And so at the time, it was deemed that mine did not require treatment. So I entered into a study protocol in a program called active surveillance. And so for some men with low-grade cancers, active surveillance is an option. We only know this because the research has been done on this, and they have the history to prove. So by the time I came along, it was understood that for certain types, the type that I had initially did not require immediate treatment. So I was on that protocol for 9.5 years. I only transitioned to active treatment in June of 2024, where I did a radical prostatectomy. So gents and ladies on the call, what's the impact of removing your prostate? So surrounding the prostate gland, you have these nerve endings that control things like incontinence, erectile function, okay? If you remove the prostate, you're disturbing those nerve endings, right? So what naturally occurs is you lose continence initially, immediately after treatment, as well as you're impacted by erectile dysfunction. The erectile function recovers over time. You never get back to 100%. And how quickly you bounce back after surgery varies based on your health, your diet, your relationship situation, and a number of factors like that. So it's not just about you, the person who have removed your prostate. It's also about the toll on the individual, on their partner, and how people navigate that process. So our support group deals with one, the initial diagnosis and treatment options, right? So in our group, you'll have people like myself who are still on active surveillance. You'll have people who need to go to treatment right away. And they can get information from guys who've done surgery, who've done different kinds of radiation treatments, such as brachytherapy, or regular hormone treatment, or any combination of those treatments. Because sometimes, depending on when the cancer is caught, you might have to do surgery as well as radiation to mop up any cancer cells that escape the prostate gland. And again, gentlemen, it's very important to screen, right? Because if you screen, you'll be able to catch the cancer early enough in the game so that you can so it can be treated. And if you catch it early enough, you have more options in terms of treatment. If you wait too late, it's a problem. It's harder to treat because the cancer obviously has spread into the lymph nodes, into your organs, your bones, etc., etc.
Anthony, I have a quick question. What's the considerable age to pre-screen?
So the recommendation in generally accepted globally is that men should start screening at age 50. Okay, so that's for the general population. However, for men like myself that have a family history, or if you're Black, in particular, if you're from the Caribbean area or West Africa, you want to be starting screening earlier. Okay. And earlier, I mean like 40. So for our prostate cancer screening clinics that we run throughout the Greater Toronto area, we take guys beginning at age 40, right? And we set certain criteria. Haven't had a test in the last 12 months, or don't have a family physician, or if you have a family physician and you have to do the test, you might have to pay for it. So through our clinics, you can get it done for free, right? The screening clinics have been going very well so far. We started screening through the pop-up clinics. It's called PSA Detect and Protect. And this is a joint venture with ourselves and Princess Margaret Hospital. So we've tested about 925 men so far. And you'd be amazed at what we're finding. One, guys who don't have a doctor, and so they come to take advantage of the clinic. Two, guys who were testing and stopped, all right, for whatever reason. And then they reach out to us and they have full-blown prostate cancer. It's not unusual to get abnormally high PSA numbers. We did a clinic, I think it was last year, found a gentleman with a PSA over 90. Recently found somebody with a PSA of 49, where the norm is about 3-ish, 3.5 or so. The PSA test itself is not without controversy because it's not 100% accurate. Okay. But I think it's one of the cheapest, easy available tests, right? And so I'm still a firm believer in using the test. I think what has to happen though is the appropriate amount of education needs to go into, you know, what to do before you take the test or what not to do on there, because things like physical exertion, riding your bike, ejaculating within 48 hours of doing the test, doing a digital rectal exam in your doctor's office just prior to doing the test. All these things can result in high PSA numbers. Or I should explain, I keep throwing around this term PSA. PSA means prostate specific antigen. So it's a marker in the blood that indicates that there might be a problem with the prostate. And generally they want to see that number on the low side. But the PSA number in and of itself, you know, is no indicator of anything really, because you can have a high PSA, right, and you're fine. You can also have a low PSA and you're fine. What they tend to hone in on is the rate of change, so how much it has changed year over year, right? In my case, what alerted them to that there was a problem was mine was 2.6 1 year, and the following year it jumped to 4.41. So that spurred them to, one, recommend that I go see a urologist, have the discussion about family history, and whether or not I wanted to do a biopsy. All right, because a biopsy is the only way to definitively say if cancer is present and how aggressive the cancer is. So with a biopsy, what they do is they take samples from the prostate, you know, 13 samples, 15, 20 samples. They test them, right, to see if there are cancer cells there, and if so, how aggressive those cells are, all right? And that also helps to inform the treatment that's recommended, you know, in conjunction with other tests like MRIs and things like that.
I've got a comment, Anthony, and a question for you.
Sure.
To the audience, this is a very insightful conversation, so please put your questions in the chat so Anthony can answer them for us. For those who are not in Canada, Anthony's based out of the Greater Toronto area in Canada. So if you're listening from somewhere else in the US, OHIP is the Ontario Health Insurance Plan, which is a provincial-run insurance plan that is specific to Canadians living in Ontario. I know I've got my US listeners on the call, so your health care will be different depending on the state you live in. And for those who live in the Caribbean, you know, you've got different health coverage. So the crux of the matter is go see a doctor, get the test. But I've got a more personal question for Anthony.
Sure.
And you mentioned your dad was diagnosed in his early 60s and passed away 4 years later. And, you know, you have our sympathy. I'm sorry to hear that. Prior to your father being diagnosed, what was your interest as a young man when it came to health, your health as a man, and more specifically, your prostate health?
Well, I mean, specifically with respect to prostate health, it didn't register. It just was
How old
never.
were you at that time, if you don't mind me asking?
Sorry?
How old were you at that time? What was your age?
Okay. I was below 40
Okay,
at the time, right? 30 something
okay.
at the time. So prostate health was not, it just didn't register. Interesting thing with my dad, though, is that he wasn't the typical guy who didn't go to the doctor. He went regularly, you know, and that's why for us it was so devastating, because here's a guy who actually went to doctors regularly, had regular checkups. You know, he worked in an auto plant, had, you know, good coverage through that plan as well as the provincial healthcare plan. So there was no reason for him not to be screened. I remember when I spoke to his doctor, the guy kind of just looked at me and said, "Oh, I have a lot of guys running around with high PSAs. PSA means nothing." And then he goes, "And besides, it's an expensive test." It's hardly an expensive test. And I would guess that most of the people on this call wouldn't have a problem paying $15. Today it's $40 for the same test. So, you know, this is the kind of thing that happens out there. And this is why, even with the government pushing back and saying, you know, we're not going to cover this, we're concerned about over testing and on and on and on and on. As a Black person, as somebody who now knows that we have a higher incidence and twice as likely to die from this thing, we have to take our own health in our hands, right? And push and engage systems, and sometimes even pay for things that's not covered. You know, if we, you know, if it's not offered up to us. One of the challenges with a universal healthcare system is that they're accustomed to not paying for stuff, right? Even for doctors, you know, they don't want to send you for a test that you have to pay for, you know, because the system is supposed to cover you, right? So there's a kind of built-in reluctance to having people pay for stuff, right? And you know, I'm not here to say what they should or shouldn't pay for on there. That's a collective decision. But as an individual, I think we all need to advocate for ourselves. We all need to share the information. So you all being here today is important, right? To get those conversations going. You know, when I was diagnosed with prostate cancer, I didn't realize how many of us, even people I know close to, that were impacted by this thing, whether enlarged prostate or prostate cancer. I was shocked, actually, when I started sharing my story, how many people in my network, you know, was impacted in some way by this thing. So there's this built-in secrecy, you know, tied to masculinity and notions around, oh, you get prostate cancer because you have too much sex. You get prostate cancer because you have too little sex. Or if I do the digital rectal exam, it's going to make me gay. And on and on and on. So you get all these stories, all right? And nobody wants to admit that somehow their manhood is impacted by some physical thing that's going on with them, because I mean, the culture is so performance oriented. You look at reggae music, calypso music, and you know, this whole macho, you know, performance oriented kind of, you know, dialogue engagements. And so it's no wonder nobody wants to admit that they're going through some of these kinds of issues because somehow they're seen to be less than on there. So a Walnut Foundation, or when your church invites us in to speak, or your organization invites us to speak, it opens up this whole dialogue, right, around health generally, right, about prostate in particularly, but just generally, taking better care of ourselves. One of the positives from, being engaged with this file is, you start being focused on PSA testing and prevention and stuff like that. And then you start thinking about, well, what's my vitamin D levels like? What's my heart condition like? Am I exercising enough? What am I eating? Before I was diagnosed, I'd stopped eating red meat and all that kind of stuff. I mean, I still eat red meat, but sparingly. But as you get older and some of these things start happening to you, you become more attuned to, taking care of yourself. So, a man is more than his prostate.
It's just for us to take care of ourselves.
Yep.
So I've got another question for you. I'm not sure if Andrew and Steph have any other questions. We're close to the 11 o'clock hour. I mean, it's the time goes very fast. You've done.
Oh yeah.
You've given some very
I'm seeing
insightful. So if our audience wants us to go 5 minutes over, then we and if you have the time, we would. But I got a question for you. One of the things you've said is that Caribbean and African men have a higher propensity to develop prostate cancer compared to other ethnic groups. Do you know the science behind this? Like what causes this disparity? Because there's a similar thing with sickle cell, where sickle cell affects certain parts of the Asian continent and mostly Black folks. So why are there these ethnic specific ailments that tend to affect Black people more than other groups? Has there any medical research behind it through the Walnut Foundation? Have their doctors done any kind of?
The why is not clear, and in fact, it's a good question. Every community meeting I go to, this is one of the questions I get on there. More research needs to be done about this thing to better understand it. And if dollars are not going into research, then we can't get at the why. What I can tell you though is, if you look at anecdotally, I'm from Jamaica. So Jamaica's population is not just African derived. We have some people who are from India, and we have Chinese Jamaicans as well. You tend not to see as high incidence of prostate cancer in that group. Yet we breathe the same air, generally eat the same food. So why? I'm not saying diet is not important, but there must be something going on there, right? So that's one, that's for the researchers to figure out. One of the research projects we're involved with is a genetics study run through Princess Margaret Hospital. And what they're doing there is, from their database of Black men who've died from prostate cancer, they want to go back and test those samples. So they're doing that now. Test the samples to see if there's some genetic commonality there. The idea would be then, once they have that, is to go back to living family members and say, hey, you need to be more proactive about screening, or perhaps you want to do genetic tests, look for these particular markers, right? So that study is going on right now. So that the first phase of that. So then the second part of it will be engaging communities, so trying to find family members. So they'll be coming back to us and to the community to try to find family members and advise them, around things like breast cancer and prostate cancer, because there's a linkage between breast cancer and prostate cancer. The one gene that they know that's problematic is the BRCA1 and 2.
Okay.
So I got checked for that, for example. So had I been positive for one of those genes, then I wouldn't have gone on active surveillance for the period that I did, right? I probably would have gone to treatment right away. But because I was not positive for it, then I was able to monitor for a number of years, not have to deal with the erectile dysfunction and the incontinence, so put that off for like 9 years. For me, those things are improving slowly, but it takes time. It's a process.
Anthony, thank you so much for sharing. You spoke briefly about the Walnut Foundation, and I know you started speaking about the community you're building, where you're doing these conversations online for either prostate cancer survivors or anybody who wants to learn more, including spouses, children, and partners. If you want to tell the audience a bit more about that initiative,
sure.
and how they can join, it's accessible globally. That way we can get the word out and get the conversation, so we can take care of each other.
Sure, that's for sure. So we meet monthly for those conversations. We tend to bring in a guest speaker on different topics. So you want to keep in touch with us through www.thewalnutfoundation.com, or you can email us info@thewalnutfoundation.com. There's good information on the website there as a starter. You can also email us, and just follow us on any one of the social platforms. We're on Instagram, on LinkedIn. Just look for thewalnutfoundation.com. So we have our monthly meetings. We also do symposiums on different health issues. We also have an annual health conference. The most recent one was held a couple of weeks ago on October the 18th. The information from that is up on our website. And in that session, we talked about, from screening to treatment to, how you rehab, as well as the caregiver partner's perspective on there. So good information on the website as a starter. And, I recommend that you all get in touch and, engage with us and learn as much as you can and help to, become ambassadors, help to spread the word. You can also help to fund the bursaries that we're setting up, like the endowments. And, similar to what you guys do here, where you're trying to build wealth and create intergenerational wealth, we think, it's not good enough to just give bursaries annually. So we've set up with U of T, it's an endowment. So we have a pot of money there. The interest from that is what's being used to create bursaries for Black kids. And the hope is that we can do the same thing at TMU Medical School up here in Brampton. So just follow us on the different platforms, and get engaged and help us with the advocacy effort as well, to get the system to change in terms of how they deal with us, and extend the PSA tests to wider community.
Yeah. You mentioned spouses very briefly, and we didn't get a chance to really speak of the impact on the prostate diagnosis on spouses. That could be a whole other conversation. So I'm going to take the liberty that the next time you come on to the conversation with us, that we spend our time focusing on how relationships are impacted when a husband or a partner is impacted with prostate cancer, and the effect on that dynamic, positive or negative. I think that's an important part of the conversation also.
Yeah, that's a huge part of the conversation.
Yeah, I know we only have 45 minutes, so I didn't want us to take away from, it's important, but I wanted our listeners to get a better sense of, why screening is important, how it affects us, you know, and you know, yesterday, Andrew, myself were speaking. I had my prostate screening done about 20-something years ago, and they mentioned the cost. So when I went to get my screening done, the nurse administrator said, "Oh, you got to pay for it." And I thought, when she said, "Oh, it's like $1,000 bill," you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And she said, "I think it was like $40," and I'm like, "Oh, it's $40," and I was astounded. But you said the same thing, you know, like there's this culture in Ontario that if you got to pay for it, you don't do it because healthcare is supposed to be free. But it's a detriment to ourselves. I mean, the cost is minimal. I mean, you know, and I'm not sure what the cost to do the screening is in parts of the US, you know, whether you're in Florida or New York or New Jersey. But I mean, there's no price tag for our health.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, we spend a lot of money and a lot of other things that have short-term enjoyment, but our health is our greatest.
And that's why we have these conversations, right? Is to help to put things in perspective for people. And for those who can't afford it, then we find a way to help them to get
it. Yeah, definitely. So, Anthony, I'm going to turn it over to Andrew and Stefan. I'm not sure. I didn't see any questions in the comments. I guess you had a great presentation because you know you sort of shared a whole lot with us. But I'll let Andrew and Stefan, if they have any last questions for you.
Yeah, I just wanted to jump in real quickly. Great presentation, great information, like Ray said. I just wanted a quick question in the sense, after you got diagnosed and after you went through your treatment, was there anything financial outside of the PSA test that affected or that you had to, that would have to come into play that people would have to pay for or bear in mind, extra costs that affected after you were in your treatment and after?
Well, good question. So, I mean, you have to pay for things like incontinence pads, you know, pull-ups, that type of thing. That's not covered. Things like Cialis or Viagra, you have to pay out of pocket for that because that's not covered. And you tend to need low doses of some of those products, right? Because you want to keep the blood flow going, right? So it's so as a part of your maintenance for your prostate, so you can get an erection. So you need to do those things. You have to pay for those things out of pocket.
Excellent. Okay. Quick question, because I'm an insurance advisor, I have to ask this question. Did you have critical illness insurance?
Yeah. I have, good question, actually. I do have a critical illness insurance, but prostate, unfortunately, is not one of the things that's covered, right? Because it's deemed treatable, right?
Okay.
So CI didn't cover that. It tends to cover things that are terminal, and prostate cancer isn't considered terminal. So, unfortunately, mine didn't pay.
Okay.
But good question.
I'll turn it over to Stefan to do our closing.
Yeah, I was gonna, before I end off, anyone have any questions, you can drop a chat. You know, Anthony has a lot of information presented and educational, and you can always visit his website to learn more about the advocacy with prostate cancer. You could turn on your camera, your mic quickly. If not, I'm just gonna wrap up and just thank Anthony again for taking the time to sharing his insights.
I'll just add before you wrap up there that, you know, what you guys are doing in terms of, you know, the financial piece that you're providing, that piece is important in terms of growing wealth and managing wealth and, you know, trying to create some wealth for the next generation. But as a person who's helping to create wealth, you know, as the breadwinner or co-breadwinner, it's important for you to be here, right? To impart the knowledge on how to manage money. You can't do that if you're dead. Okay. So I just thought I'd throw that in there.
Absolutely. No. And yeah, thank you again, everyone, for joining us, and Anthony, and you can always visit the Walnut Foundations on the chat. Just push forward the advocacy among your loved ones. We'll see you guys next month. We have a special kind of edition Christmas episode. Stay tuned on our Facebook page and our social media profiles for upcoming December 10th Morning Conversation episode. And thank you everyone for joining us today.
Okay, thank you for having me. Take care.
Thank you, Anthony. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, bye.
Yeah, that was a good conversation. Thank you very
Okay,
much.
guys, take care. My pleasure. And
Yeah.
like I said, keep in touch.
Yeah.
And help to spread the word about the work that we're doing. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Take
just
care.
continue to share the events with us. We've got a very active social media,
Mhm.
all three of us. So let's drop the stuff into my email. I will continue to share them in my personal profile.
I'll do that. Appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah,
All right. Thank you
likewise.
very much, Anthony.
Thank you,
Yeah,
Anthony.
maybe you guys can even participate in the walk next year. We do a
Yes,
walkathon.
absolutely.
Yeah, let me know. Yeah.
That's it. Yeah, give us a kind of event. So let's just keep sharing. Let's just
Okay,
keep sharing
good.
that. Yeah.
Thanks.
Anthony,
Take
I'm
care,
going to
guys.
connect
Bye.
with you just because I have an idea for some of the funding for
Okay,
your
sure.
foundation.
Yeah, you have
so
my
thank you for
contact,
doing
right?
that. Yeah.
Yeah, just reach out.
All right.
Okay,
Sounds
good.
good.
Thanks, Andrew. Take care, guys. Bye.
Okay, take
Yeah.
care. Okay, bye.
Full discussions on money and lifestyle every second Wednesday at 10:15 a.m. Morning Money Conversations. Are you looking to expand your understanding of money and lifestyle? Join our lively and engaging conversations on Morning Money Conversations happening every second Wednesday at 10:15 a.m. EST. Our dynamic hosts, Steph, Drew, and Ray, are joined by a range of guests to discuss a variety of topics centered around finances, living well, and navigating the complexities of modern life. What to expect? Informative content. Explore topics that matter most to your financial well-being and lifestyle choices. Insightful dialogue. Benefit from the fresh perspectives of our hosts and guests sharing tips, stories, and practical advice. Engaging format. Our sessions are interactive and designed to keep you inspired about your financial and lifestyle journey. How to tune in? Set a reminder for every second Wednesday at 10:15 a.m. EST and join the conversation. Whether you're at home, at work, or on the go, you can catch us live on Zoom or on the replay across multiple platforms: YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share to help spread the word and stay up to date with our latest episodes by visiting our YouTube channel.